This is First Peoples and First Farmers. It's a visual sources lecture from chapter 1, and we're going to look at some of the requirements. How to look at primary sources is going to be an important part of what we do. Visual sources are a big part, especially in this prehistoric era where there isn't writing. We have to be able to look at the artifacts and analyze those. It's important with all these artifacts that we keep in mind that the context is key. We'll talk about some context questions. For further information on this, you can read in the prologue, page 70, which is Roman numerals LXX there. So some of these context questions is the when, the where, and the who. So with the when, we need to know when these artifacts were created. And then the where. Where was it made? So the region, but also where was it used? Was it used in the home? Was it used in a field? Was it used in religious ceremonies? That'll tell us a lot more about the intended purpose or the assumed purpose of the artifact. And finally, who made it? Who paid for it? And what was it for? The older we get with these artifacts, the less we know about them. So the closer we get to present day, the more we can identify with in terms of who. These are all primary questions that we can ask of a document even before we see it, whether it's a visual document, a visual source, or a written document. We can ask these questions to give us context even before we get into the reading. The sources we're going to look at are the Willendorf Venus, Saharan rock art, and a Knock sculpture. So for the Willendorf Venus, we know that it was about 25,000 years ago, and it was found near Willendorf, Austria. But we don't know who. Now the problem with the who, again with the context, is that the who can exist over a broad range of answers that the first two questions would give us. For example, if I replaced the word unknown in the who category with the word people, that wouldn't tell us a whole lot. People made all of these. So the when and the where are probably the most important in giving us clues, and then more specifically we can move on from there. The Saharan rock art that we'll see was created about 4000 BC in the Saharan desert in southern Algeria. Again, it's an unknown for who made it. And the Knock sculpture is the most recent, between 600 BC and 600 AD, and created in northern Nigeria. And because it is so recent, we have better clues about the Knock people, who they are, and what they created. So then, as we get into the text, we can begin to ask these questions as we first see the source, who or what is being depicted, what activity is being done here, and then we describe the positioning, the clothes, the hair, the other visuals. Especially for these older pieces, we don't have a lot to go on, and so we need to ask these generalized questions. So what I want you to do is I show you these clips first. I want you to go back through the questions. We know the when, where, and the who. But ask yourself the descriptor questions, pause the video, and go ahead and answer those questions of who or what is it being depicted, the activities. So go ahead and pause the video here and describe the Willendorf Venus. This is the Saharan rock art, about 4000 BC in the Saharan desert. Go ahead and pause this and describe what activities are being shown, etc. And finally, the Knock sculpture, about 600 BC to 600 AD. Go ahead and pause here and describe the Knock sculpture. Once we've done that, we can move on to some more interpretive questions, get a little deeper in the analysis, break down what the purpose or the function is, and then the message, what message is being conveyed. Could it be interpreted differently depending on who views it? You could explain why in that case. What are the meanings of the symbols or abstractions, and what can the image tell us about the society and time that it came from? So we're going to run through these questions again, or these images again rather, and I want you to go through these interpretive questions for each one of these. So pause the video and run through the interpretive questions for the Willendorf Venus. Go ahead and pause the video here for the Saharan rock art. And run through the questions here. Pause the video and run through the questions for the Knock sculpture. I want to show one last comparison here with a more modern piece of historical artifact. It is a doll created in 2000 AD, and we found this in North America, and we assume then that it was created by North Americans, or Americans in particular. So go ahead and run through all the questions, the descriptive questions and the interpretive questions for this artifact. Pause the video as well. And then I want you to do a comparison of these two. So compare the two artifacts. What is similar? What is different? And can you draw any conclusions about these two societies based on the differences in these two artifacts? All right, and all the questions, just to summarize, the questions that we go through when we go through documents